Bite of Life, conversations from God's Word that will instruct, inspire, and engage.
Well, hello. Welcome back to this edition and episode of A Bite of Life. I'm glad that you're joining with me again today. We're going to continue talking about this amazing ability that God has given to us, the ability to think, the ability to process information, to meditate on things, to contemplate, to reason in a rational thought through pattern, to choose and decide how to think and what to think. It's a superpower that God has given every human being, this thing that happens automatically, we're not even aware of all the time, but just that process of being able to think thoughts and process those thoughts is an amazing gift that God has given to us, but it's a powerful gift as well. If you think about it, everything that we do in life begins with a thought. Everything we say in life begins with a thought. Before it's an action, before it's a spoken word, it's a thought inside of us that we are thinking about and processing. Even if it's an instantaneous process, it's undeniably happening inside of us. In Philippians, the 4th chapter, Paul writes to this early church, and in the 8th verse, that he gives one verse that's just packed with information that we want to try to glean from in our times together, where Paul lists for us the character of what our thoughts should be like, the character that our thought life should maintain. He doesn't tell us what to think about, but he's giving us a list of how we should think about what we think about. And it's important, I think, for us to consider this 8th verse as we meet in these times together. The first characteristic that he mentions is, he says, whatever's true. He ends the verse by saying, think about these things. So we back up, and the first thing on the list is, he says, think about whatever's true. That's a vital question. Is it true? Is it accurate? Is it factual? Is it real? This thing that I'm thinking, is it based and founded on truth? And in all honesty, if this characteristic isn't in place, none of the other characteristics that are going to follow this matter. If what we're thinking has no truthful foundation, then it's probably not something that'll be beneficial for us to continue thinking about or to build upon. See, just because we think something or something's in our mind, that doesn't make it true. Or just because we want something to be true doesn't make it true. Just because somebody that we trust said something or we heard something doesn't make it true. Even if it was on the internet, it doesn't make it true. So the reality is that we have to understand that you can't believe everything you think. Just because you think it, it doesn't mean you should believe it. Whatever is true, Paul is saying, has to be the first filter that we use in examining the things that we think about. You know, one of the simple joys that I have in life is I love at the end of being outside and cutting the grass, I love to be able to look back and see straight lines. To me, that's just an inner satisfaction that you see a lawn manicured with nice, long, straight lines. And in order for that to happen, I found that my first cut becomes very important. It becomes very important that the first row of lawn that I cut, that it be straight, that it be true. And the only way I found that can make that happen is when I first start, I fix my eyes and I fix my focus on something that's an unchangeable, unmovable object in my future, up ahead of me. And I rely on that. And every step I take, I do my best to make sure I'm absolutely aligned with that goal, with that target. And I found that if I move my eyes and divert my attention, that it causes me to misstep. And my line ends up not being straight till all is said and done. And the same is true in life, that if our thinking isn't true, at the beginning, at the foundation, then any thoughts we build upon that thought are going to be misaligned. They're going to be off course. They could take us and lead us in a direction that's not going to take us where we want to go. we see so many samples of that in the Bible. Samson thought that he was invincible. He thought that he was impervious to temptation of Delilah. And he built on that thought. And the thought initially wasn't true. King David entertained thoughts about a neighbor's wife, thoughts that weren't true, weren't accurate, that he should not have built a life on, and it led to tremendous pain. Jesus, in fact, at one point, if you recall, rebuked Peter, and he rebuked him because he said, Peter, you're setting your mind on things of man, not things of God. You're not thinking about things of God. You're not thinking about what's true. And the things I'm telling you are true. And you're thinking about things that aren't true. So, Peter, you're going to end up in a place where you ought not be. Now, it's imperative, in other words, that the things we think about foundationally, first and foremost, we know that they're true, they're factual, they're accurate, that we can rely on them, and we're okay in thinking them and defending them. All right, but there's a second nuance that I want to give you too in Paul's instruction that I think is worth mentioning and worth looking at today. So not only does what we think about need to be true, but our heart needs to be true while we're thinking it. Let me read that again for you. Not only does what we think about need to be true, but our heart needs to be true while thinking about it. See, our heart talks about that hidden part of us, that inner soul that we all have, the part of us that only two people really know. God knows and we know about us, that hidden man. The Bible says that man looks on the outward appearance while God looks on the heart. So you could be thinking something about someone, about an event, about yourself. You could be thinking whatever you're thinking about, and it could be true. You can know that it's factually true, that it's accurate. You could know that it's real. But then you also have to ask yourself, while you're thinking about it, what's going on inside of you? What's going on in your heart? Is your heart true while you're thinking about that thing that is true? I hope you understand this, because it's a very, very important nuance. What happens if while you're thinking about that true thing, but in your heart, you're feeling anger or resentment or retaliation or fear or anxiety or stress or rejection, or maybe you're feeling some sense of even some twisted kind of satisfaction because somebody got what you think they deserve to get. What's happening in your heart? Is your heart true? See, think of all the people that came to Jesus. Think of the wide range of people, from prostitutes to lepers to demon-possessed to just ordinary people to outcasts to wealthy people to leaders of the community to people in positions of power. All these different people came to Jesus. And you know what? Every time any one of them came to him, he knew what was true about them. He knew what was true. The things that he thought about them were true. They were factual. They were actual. Okay, but you also notice in the life of Jesus, he never responded based solely on the facts. He never responded to people who came to him based solely, or thought about the people who came to him based solely on the facts. He understood with his intellect, he understood with his brain, with his mind, but he responded from his heart. He responded with a heart that was always to redeem, that was always to restore, that was always to draw in. Thinking whatever's true isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's not just about uncovering the facts and finding out those details. Thinking what is true, whatever's true, when Paul gives us that instruction, it includes a heart that desires to think the way Jesus thought and the way Jesus still thinks. And here's how Jesus thought. In every situation, in every conversation, in every confrontation, this is what drove Jesus thinking. How can I respond in a way that brings glory to my Father? That was his thought. That was his central thought. That was the filter that he used. Not only is it factual, but is my heart true? Out of his heart, the truth that came is that in this situation, no matter what it is, and no matter who this person is, and no matter what I know is true about this person, how can I respond and react and deal with this person in such a way that it brings glory to my Father? See, being true, his thinking being true, wasn't just a mindset for Jesus, but it was a heart set. Whoever he met, from lepers to leaders, from poor people to the most powerful people, his heart set was, how can I respond in a way that brings glory to my Father? No matter what people said, no matter who came to him, that one true thought filled his mind and heart. So when Paul tells us foundationally, when we're going to think about how we think, the first question is it true? Is it true factually? That's important. But then don't stop there. Is it coming out of a true heart? Do these thoughts align with a true heart? Do these thoughts, can I deal with them in such a way? Can I work with them? Can I conclude? Can I respond to them in such a way that God is glorified through it? That's a true heart. How do we get there? How do we get there? Let me give you one verse, and then we're going to close our time. Hebrews 10:22 says, let us draw near with a true heart, with full assurance of faith. Jesus was able to think the way he thought because of his proximity to the Father, his closeness to the Father. I only say what I hear the Father say. I only do what I see the Father doing. James tells us something important. He says, if you'll draw near to God, God will draw near to you. So how do we respond, and how do we think and have thoughts that are true? We make sure, number one, they're factually, actually true. And number two, that the scrutiny of our heart, the filter of our heart, is that God be glorified in that thought process. And our goal is that God receive glory out of the way we think. As we draw closer to him, we'll begin to think more like him. Take time sometime today or the next day to think about your thoughts and ask yourself, are they true? Am I thinking what's true? God bless you. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any of the great resources